they're just baggy. There are spaces everywhere. They're baggy. And they're a pretty awful team to watch when they're baggy. Because, honestly, they don't press very well. They've got no intensity. They walk around the pitch, particularly the front players. They think they're better than they are, or they must think they're better than they are. Because when I watch Liverpool and City, the players sprint. And all of a sudden, Leicester, through the fact Manchester United were a lot more open, Manchester United were a lot more, if you like, disconnected. Here again, you'll watch it again, the Leicester back three have the ball. It comes out to Kasper Schmeichel. It's a nothing really of a press. Mason Greenwood doesn't cover himself in glory on this side. Soyuncu plays it out to Castagna, and all of a sudden they're out again. And this pattern started to emerge in the second half of the front of the team and the back of the team becoming disconnected. And you'll see it here now as the ball carries on being played. As the ball carries on and they carry on playing in possession, Manchester United end up in a position whereby you have this situation. Let's take that back. A touch there. You end up with this. Two teams. The front five, the egos, the great players, the world-class ones, and you end up with the back five. And Manchester United end up with a disconnected, not compact unit that Leicester find it really comfortable to play against. So you've got individual errors, you've got obviously Harry Maguire struggling, but you then got a disconnected team. So that was the pattern for me of the second half. Manchester United somehow decided that they were going to break from the sort of what would be half compact shape in the first half. This Manchester United team also are really poor in reacting to goals. If they concede a goal, they're a little bit like babies after they concede a goal and they all sort of start doing their own thing. If they score a goal, they all puff their chests out and think, here we go, I'm going to go and score the winner, and their egos come out. And they start to then chase forward. Straight from the kick-off of equalising at 2-2, I'll pause it there. Here we have it again, a 5 and a 5. That is not a 4-2-3-1. That is not a 4-4-2. That is not how you defend in a football team. So really basic errors. They have basically the same thing appearing during the second half where that front five become disconnected. I have to say, exacerbated by individual errors like that one by Wan-Bissaka. And obviously then Vardy breaks clear of Maguire in the middle and they end up losing the game, and rightly so. I don't think watching that game back, Leicester did anything spectacularly different in the second half. I don't think Brendan Rodgers, when he analyses that game again, because I've watched it on this high cam, will think that's the best Leicester City performance I've ever seen. But this Manchester United team, we've said it for quite a long time now, they play in moments in attack. They haven't got a style, they haven't got an identity, but they've got brilliant players. Similar to PSG maybe in terms of how they play, they've got brilliant players. So what you've got to try and do is get into a shape of some kind and a little bit of work on that shape so that actually you can somehow try and keep a clean sheet or lose one goal but always score 2 and 3. On Saturday, Manchester United didn't do that. In the second half, they broke rank. They didn't listen to their coach. Their coach didn't give them instruction. Whichever one that is, it's bad, and they need to correct that pretty quickly because they'll lose a lot of football matches if they carry on like that.
We'll come back to you on some of those points in a moment, Gary, but it was really interesting to hear Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Paul Pogba come out after the game and say pretty much the same thing, that something needs to change. What would it be if you were in charge, Jamie?
You can't play 5 attacking players. You can't. I've never believed that. I've said this on this show 12 months ago. I've never felt Pogba and Fernandes can play together centrally in the same team. So the first thing is that Pogba's got to come out to central midfield. But the reason Pogba's playing in central midfield, this all comes back to Ronaldo signing. I'm not trying to be clever after the event. I said when Ronaldo signed, this is a better signing for the Premier League than Manchester United. And as soon as Ronaldo signed, I knew he was the type of player who you could never leave out. He's got to play through the middle. And what's the knock-on effect? Pogba going to the left towards the end of last season and the start of this season, they'd almost fell upon something Manchester United. As soon as I saw Ronaldo come in, Pogba has to play centre midfield to get all these players, and he's got too many options. But when Pogba plays centre midfield, you see what Gary's just shown there, where there's a disconnect with the team. He's not disciplined enough to play central midfield. I'm not saying he should be out the team, but he's not a central midfield player in a Manchester United shirt. The 4 times Manchester United have played with a front 5 or Pogba's been central midfield this season in a 2. You actually look at the stats. And let's look at the playing against the Wolves. XG, I was at the game, I commentated, they won. And let's look, they've won 3 of those games, only lost 1. But look at the XG against. They've been so lucky. They were very lucky at Wolves, should have lost the game. Newcastle, possibly the worst team in the Premier League. Okay, they beat them at home. Villarreal was one of the most one-sided games I've ever seen, I think, in a European game at Old Trafford. And what we saw yesterday was coming. That's what happens when not just Paul Pogba's in central midfield, but Manchester United are playing with 5 players. That is a huge problem for them in terms of going forward. And that has to change, because I think if that carried on and you continue to play all the big stars, I think they could struggle to finish in the top 4, Manchester United.
Do you agree? Too many attacking players?
No, I honestly, I've had my issues with Paul Pogba in midfield. I've had my issues with Paul Pogba generally and his agent over the last 2 years. Honestly, it's like having a windscreen where you've got 6 cracks in it and you have to change it anyway, but you think that the crack that is Paul Pogba is the one that you should focus on. I don't believe this is a Paul Pogba problem. And the reason I say that is that on Saturday I watched that game. I watched Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes up front. Nothing. I saw them flailing their arms a few times at a couple of their teammates, which I didn't like again. And that needs to stop. I saw wide players who, to be fair, had no intensity in the pressing. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can't go back to McTominay and Fred. He can't go back to McTominay and Fred. He can't go back to Matic and Fred. Because the reality of it is we know what that delivers. It won't deliver Manchester United success. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has brought these talented players in. And Pep Guardiola plays with David Silva and De Bruyne and Sané and Aguero and Sterling, which are 5 attacking players. Let me finish, please. Right? What he needs to somehow try and prove is that he, as a top manager in his development as a coach this season, can get top players to work as hard as the other top players in the league. And I've got a graphic here, which, to be fair, demonstrates these are the most used forwards this season from Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City and Manchester United. And these are the top 12. Out of that top 12, there are 4 in it from Liverpool, there are 3 in it from Chelsea, there are 4 in it from Manchester City, and there is Jadon Sancho there, who is a lone Manchester United body. Manchester United's forward players, it's not just Paul Pogba, they are not organised, which is a problem for the coach, and the coach needs to deal with, but they also need to get a shift in. Because I played with really great players, and I'm watching great players in this league like City and Liverpool, who are fantastic teams, by the way, as good of any teams I've seen in the history of the Premier League, this City and Liverpool team. And they work like dogs. They work like non-league central midfield players and forwards. And the best players in the world, players like Salah and Mane and De Bruyne and Foden, and all these great players, they're unbelievable. So why is it that we accept at Manchester United in their front part of the pitch that these players won't work as hard as them? I can't accept that. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got to go and get the best out of those players. Because if he doesn't, he's going to have a massive problem at the end of this season.
Can he make it work?
No, I don't think he can in terms of playing those players. And I'm going to look at a clip. I mean, I didn't think Manchester United were great in that first half. And I'm going back to the manager now. And we always talk about what is his style? What does he do? What is he about? I keep hearing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer talk about Man United of the past. We play counter-attack, we score late goals. It's like a history lesson in Manchester United. He was part of that history, amazing. What does Ole Gunnar Solskjaer do? What's your idea? I don't see it in terms of a plan. Now, you're talking about them getting back into shape. Now, at times they were pressing high. So when the ball comes back across now to the goalkeeper, and you talk about them dropping into the formation first half. So what you have is now, is Bruno Fernandes and Sancho, especially Sancho, who's come from a pressing team in Borussia Dortmund. They're on the press, they're going after Leicester. Look at Sancho, as soon as the ball comes across, he's in. But is Pogba in behind him? Is Shaw really in behind him? Is Harry Maguire in behind him? So where's the organisation? If we're going to press, everyone presses. OK, at times an opposition can play out. Sometimes you have to hold your hands up to quality, and it can happen. But again, are Manchester United a high-pressing team? I don't think they really are, especially with Ronaldo in the team. So now, when it drops back, so now, Manchester United get behind the ball. This is what I'm talking about, little incidents like this. As the Leicester midfield player is about to play that ball forward between the lines, Pogba's not looking. He's got his back to play. Ronaldo's not doing a lot actually next to him. Actually, could have filled in for him. And the ball goes between the lines. Manchester United get away with it. Then they lose possession. And now we've had the little sprint up, haven't we? We've had the little sprint up before from Ronaldo and Fernandes. Now look at the reaction. Sancho. So Manchester United are a team are quite high on sprints if you look at the Premier League stats. Very low on distance covered. This is one of the reasons why. This is at full speed, this as well. And let's not forget, coming into this game, this is a Leicester team who are really struggling with confidence. So now Manchester United are in their shape in that 4-4-2. A little bit reminiscent of what I saw on Saturday in terms of Watford against Liverpool. No real pressure on the ball. This wouldn't be accepted, or it wouldn't be what I'd see from a Pep Guardiola team, or a Jurgen Klopp team, or a Thomas Tuchel game. They micromanage their teams. I always feel like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says go out and play. Now, there's managers in the past who've had success doing things like that.
But do you feel this is a coaching problem, Jamie, at Manchester United?
I think it's both. I think it is. I don't see a real plan. I talk about Ole. I'm not quite sure what he does. If I go back to Jurgen Klopp's first game at Spurs, Alden Lallana comes off and falls into Klopp's arms. We analyse it, we know what it's about. Thomas Tuchel, 3 at the back, straight away, you know what it's about. Pep Guardiola's first game, his full-backs are in midfield. You can feel it, you can see it, you know what's happening. And this is a team who, at times, are pressing on their own, times are walking about. This is not getting worked on the training pitch. And if it is getting worked on the pitch, I mean, the players aren't taking any notice. How long has this clip gone on for?
They've still got the
treading
ball.
Water. I'm wasting United players, they're treading water.
Well, let me ask Gary this, because, of course, the pressure is going to be heaped on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer here. Jamie's identified 1 or 2 issues. You yourself have done as well. You've talked about the disconnect. You've talked about no attacking patterns. You've talked about no style and identity. These are not things that you would want on your CV as a coach. So where does he go from here?
Look, I thought last season there was something building. I bet you if you said to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer privately and his coaching team, would you like last season's squad back or would you like this one? I think they'd probably go back to last season's a little bit.
Without Ronaldo?
Just generally, look, I think they've got 6 grenades where the pins have been pulled out in the dressing room. And that can work. I've seen Del Bosque manage a Real Madrid team to Champions League victories. I've seen Zidane do it with great players, where you've got this sort of collection of great players that win games in moments. I think PSG are like that at the moment. You watch Pochettino there and you probably think it's not really a Pochettino team. They're not really a high press, high intensity team, but he's got to work with what he's got. They're great players, great names, and Ole's got a bit of that now. You have Cristiano Ronaldo, you have Bruno Fernandes, you have Paul Pogba, you have Cavani, you have Harry Maguire. You know, you've got massive characters that are in the dressing room. Maguire's probably looking at Varane thinking, well, am I the top dog anymore because he's the Champions League winner and he's the man. The dynamic of that. You've got the dynamic of Cavani sat on the bench thinking, hang on a minute, they begged me to stay another year and now I'm sat on the bench all the time and I've got Ronaldo playing up there and I've got Rashford and I've got Martial and I've got Greenwood.
So does he need to leave some of these players out?
You've got Sancho then that's coming at 75 million. He's been chased and hunted down the street and all over Europe for 2 years and now he's looking like he's being sort of like in and out a little bit. So you've got all these issues that are developing this dynamic within your squad. He's got to somehow bring that group together. And I know what you say about Ole and the style. He's got to somehow find a really basic, simple way of playing defensively where the players buy into it, and he's got to allow those talented players to go and win the games for him. That is the only way Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to get this season back on track. Because at the moment, I suspect the dynamic in that change room is still developing in terms of the aura of Ronaldo. Fernandes is walking around sort of doing this all the time. Pogba's thinking, am I leaving, am I not leaving? Should I stay? This is a great team, is it not a great team? You know, you've got this emerging captain of Harry Maguire who's probably thinking, well, how do I control this lot? 'Cause I don't like what I'm seeing. And I think it's a thing that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has to solve this week. He's got to get it right. And I actually think on Sunday against Liverpool, this lot could come out and, to be fair, they are an odd bunch. They could go and do Liverpool on Sunday, but they've got to get that spirit, that dynamic, and that feeling right. And Ole's got to do that.
Jamie, back in.
The big thing I think with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done a really good job as Manchester United manager. And I'm not saying that trying to be clever from a Liverpool point of view. What I mean by that is, this could have gone horribly wrong for Manchester United. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has come in with experience from Scandinavia, a year at Cardiff. I said this about Frank Lampard. I can't judge Ole Gunnar Solskjaer against maybe Mourinho and Van Gaal, who possibly did average jobs themselves. But this will never change. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will not win a league title or a Champions League trophy as Manchester United manager. He is not at the level of the other managers in terms of Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola or Thomas Tuchel, who've got years of experience behind them in terms of winning big trophies. Klopp's won the Bundesliga, Pep's won Champions League, Thomas Tuchel's been Champions League finals and won things. Ole hasn't got that. So where he's got them right now, he's done a really good job. Now, but this team is a good team. I don't believe it's a poor team. I think there's a great collection of individuals, but there's a feeling around that if Ole wins a trophy this season, he should stay in a job. He needs to win a trophy to stay in a job. Manchester United will only win maybe the FA Cup or the Europa League. If we won one of them, for me, that would make no difference. I wouldn't be thinking at all about changing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer right now. But Manchester United, at the end of the season, whether Ole Gunnar Solskjaer won a trophy or not, need to have a better manager. That's not a criticism of Ole, but they need a manager that can compete with the other managers in this league. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, unfortunately, and he'll know that himself, and every United fan knows that themselves, is not at the level of the other managers in the Premier League.
How much pressure should he be under?
He should be under massive pressure with the squad that's been assembled and the fact he's been in the job now 2.5, nearly 3 years. 100%. 100%. But the club are not going to change him. And the club are going to stick with him to the end of the season. My view would be, I agree with James, it's not the right time to discuss it now. I've got Manchester United fans on my social media timeline all the time saying, Gary, he's your mate, you won't call him out. No, I won't. No, I won't. I won't call Steve Keane out or Arsene Wenger at Arsenal. I'm not going to come on this show 11 years later and ask for the manager to be sacked. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. He's a club legend. He's my teammate. I actually like him a lot. And Manchester United have failed with 2 previous managers who've been world class. I think they persist to the end of the season. I disagree with Jamie on the fact that if he does win the Europa League and the FA Cup and they finish in the top 4, I would say that's still building a successful team. You go up against 3 of the best teams in the world in Chelsea, City and Liverpool, by the way, with 3 of the best managers. So Manchester United changing the manager now doesn't prove anything to me in terms of what could happen. I still think they could struggle against those 3 teams. But the pressure is building, Dave. The 100% is building. It should do. Cavani, Greenwood, Rashford, Martial, Van der Beek, Pogba, Fernandes. What a collection of players. Sancho, they've got to now start to perform and he's got to get them to perform.
Pressure building, says